What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to LTH. My name is Abe, and in this video I want to talk about SSH keys during the installation process and specifically accessing them via GitHub, because in episode 2 of how to harden our Linux machines we covered SSH key authentication and how to do that and how to make an SSH key. So if you don't know how to do that, please go watch that video before this one. But in this video we're essentially covering how to upload SSH keys to a server that already exists and how to access them from GitHub, and how to manage all your SSH keys if you have a unique SSH key for each server, and then how to log in to your server now just using a host name instead of SSH at the username, at the IP address, and then your password. We can just do it with SSH hostname now, and I'll show you how to do that in this video. Alright, so the first thing you need to do, once again, if you don't have the SSH key created, please go watch episode 2 of how to harden your Linux server. But once we're logged into our GitHub account, we are going to click Settings, and then we're going to click SSH and GPG keys on the right, and then click a new SSH key on the top right, and then name this whatever you want. I would name this after your server that you are adding the SSH key to, so you know what it goes to. Now you can use the same SSH key for all your servers if you'd want, and that's not necessarily bad practice, especially because if they get your private key, then they could access all your servers, which could be bad. But if they also got your private key, you're in a bad spot already. Anyways, probably best practice to create an SSH key for each individual system, just for peace of mind and best practice. So to grab your public SSH key, remember, we are uploading our public SSH key, not the private one, to our GitHub account. So in our case, this is my public one. If you want to verify if it's your public one, you will right click on it and select properties. And then under properties, you will see this .pub extension. So I'm going to right click on that, click open with Notepad, and grab my SSH key out of this folder and paste it in here and click add SSH key. So now that's on our GitHub account. How do we pull this key, right, to make our jobs easier? Well, two ways. The first way I'm going to show you is during installation. So when you are setting up your next virtual machine in your environment, you're going to get to this page, SSH configuration. You're going to click enter on install open SSH key, and then we're going to tab and import our SSH key. And we're going to do that from our GitHub account. And then in here, you're just going to type in your HomeLab or your GitHub username. Mine is learn to HomeLab, and click done. And it's going to fetch those keys from that profile location I just showed you. And we're going to upload all of them. Now, if you don't want to have all of these SSH keys on your server, go ahead and delete them. You would click enter and click delete, and then delete it just like that. And then we can see we have 2 SSH keys on our profile, essentially with the same ED25519. And if you have multiple in your folder, they might get confused. So it's good just to delete them if you don't need it. And then click done, and this system's going to install, right? And so once we're done with that, we will essentially be able to log in with an SSH key now, instead of having to use our username and password like I mentioned. Okay, so the other way we can grab and download the SSH keys if you want to move to this method is by curling the SSH keys on our already set up server with this command. And then you're just typing in your username like so, and clicking enter, and now it's going to download those keys and put them in that authorized keys folder location in .ssh. So those are the 2 ways to get your SSH keys onto your server to start that process. But let's say we have a whole bunch of SSH keys and we attempt to log in to a server, right? And it says permission denied, wrong public to private key combo, essentially. So the public key is denying us access to our server. Well, sometimes you guys might run into this error because you have multiple keys in your SSH folder on your local machine. And so it essentially just doesn't know which key to pick. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a config file in this SSH location with this command, which I know was quick. And then within here, we need to create a entry per machine, right? Per device. And so I'm going to paste this in here just to show you. But essentially, you are going to replace the host name with the IP address relevant to your server. Mine's 158. And then your host name alias is what you're going to use to log in with now. So we're going to do GitHub SSH Keys, just like that. And then the username is learn, or whatever username you created for, or whatever username there is for your machine, I should say. And so that's it. You're going to leave, or nope, one more thing, my bad. Full path to the private key location. So in our case, we uploaded this one. So we want to use this private key location, and you're just going to grab the key name, just like that. And then click Control S to save, and it has been saved. So now when we go to log in, we can actually just use this host name, and you'll just create more entries of this same template over and over again. Create your host name, switch the IP address, and make sure you're selecting the right key you want the service to use. So when I go SSH GitHub keys, we might get or you will get this error, okay? And so we need to change one more thing before we're able to log in. I just wanted to show you that error because you might be following along and be like, oh, it didn't work. So we need to get rid of the permissions on the config file besides the user you're currently logged into. So you're gonna right click, click properties. Under properties, click security, and then click advanced, disable inheritance, and delete all the users besides the one you were currently logged in as, and then select apply. Okay, and then we are going to try this command again, and we're logged in. So just like that, you no longer need to use a username, a password, whatever. You do SSH GitHub host keys. It looks in this config file for that host, and it applies these settings. So you'll no longer get that confusion of which key to use. You no longer need to remember IP addresses, usernames, or passwords. You can just use a host name and log right in. I hope that makes sense. I hope you guys enjoy this video and that excites you because I love logging in this way. It is so easy and so fast. Thank you for watching. My name is Abe, signing off with another awesome HomeLab video.